This afternoon, I'm interviewing Kat Woolley, and Kat is a producer. She works for Unity, which is a global company with an office in Brighton. Kat, thank you very much for your time today. It's really lovely to have you as one of our interviewees, and I know you as a company were planning to take one of our Shoreham Academy students for some work experience in the summer. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. So the work experience student would have been joining my small team based in Brighton. We are the real-time learning team. So it is our job to make sure that if you want to learn how to use Unity, the real-time development engine, you have a good set of tools behind you to allow you to do that. The tutorials and projects and courses come in forms of example projects, both in written content and video, and then you've got games that you can dig in and explore, pull apart, work out how we made them, and then make your own. All of the content is varied depending on how you learn. And so our job is to try and make sure that there is enough content out there to satisfy the needs of all the different levels of people who want to use Unity, from if you have no idea what it is, all the way through to being able to be a Unity certified developer and doing it for a job.
Right. So you're training people to work in the software development field?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So Unity as a piece of software can be used across any industry that uses 3D real time. So traditionally it's been video game development, but it's now being used across film, television, animation, automotive, construction, architects, anything that you want a 3D environment, essentially. And it's our job to be able to give you the tools to be able to use it as your in your job. You could be a Unity developer for a career.
And you talk about that 3D. So obviously, because people can't go out as much as they were, do you think there'll be, because I appreciate, say you want to go and look at a new house, you want to buy a house, you may not be able to necessarily go around it. Is that the kinds of things that software could be used for, to give a virtual tours and things like that?
Yeah, 100%. You could make a whole house, a whole room. You could even then do it in VR, put a VR headset on, walk around a new house.
Wow. Wow, many of our students are really interested in that kind of technology. So, yeah, fantastic. So what we'll do at the end of this is we'll put some links on the end of this video so that you can explore Unity in a bit more detail and find out more about it. So that'd be brilliant. What's a typical day like for you as a producer? What does that mean?
So my role, I am glue. I make sure that everyone who is working on projects, so we have artists and developers, and we have teachers, people who are writing the instructional material, people who are testing our projects, they make up the team who creates the projects themselves. They're the developers. My job is to make sure that from project conception, so right at the beginning when we're talking about what the project's going to be, right the way through to publishing it on the Unity Learn site, everyone knows what everybody else is doing. They all know when their deadlines are. They all know what's coming next. We have little meetings about each project so that we can update each other on how everything is going, make sure everyone's okay. I am glue. I go between everybody, making sure everyone's all right and everything's working out as it should.
So there's an element of, well, a large element of project management within the job that you do. Yeah. And I know young people, if project management is something you're interested in, if you like that coordination and that organisation, you can do online learning around project management just to give you an idea of what it is. So I don't know, have you done any project management training yourself?
No.
So you've taught yourself, really?
I wouldn't say I'm self-taught. It comes through different job roles. So when I started out, I was a production assistant. So I worked for a little interactive company, working on little desktop games and on apps. And my job then was in a similar way. You go between all the different people who are working in the office and you make sure that they have everything that they need. But I did a creative writing degree at university with an element of filmmaking involved. So I learned how to use a camera and I learned how to video edit. And so with the skills of writing and camera work and video editing, obviously being able to use a computer and use the Adobe Suite or Final Cut Pro, things like that. There's an element of being able to turn your hand to whatever is needed. And that role led me into working with the project managers, with the producers, and being able to help them more as they did their work. And so your responsibilities kind of go up and up, and with every role that I then had after that, it kind of led me into producing. I guess it's more of a, if you're a producer, you have a generalized viewpoint of how everything works, because if you've worked with teams where you're talking to developers and artists and people like that, you have an idea of how their job should go and what they expect and how they like to work. It makes you a good producer because you can relate to what they do. It's important that you have that insight, that you're not really specifically focused on one role, that you're able to kind of see everyone's roles and what everybody needs, because that's your job essentially, is to look after everybody else rather than focus on one specific thing. Does that make any sense? Did I answer that question?
No, it makes total sense, because I think particularly going back to what you talked about with learning with your creative writing education, and for young people to see that actually you might go in you might try all sorts of different things out that take you on a path, and actually while you're on that path you don't really quite know where you're going necessarily, but when you, as you say, when you become a producer, you can say, well, actually, because I've done all these different things, it makes me a better producer, because I understand the different elements of it, and because I'm interested in creative writing, you kind of understand how things are put together. So yeah, I think it's really, really useful for people to know that career paths aren't, you don't just say when you're 18, I want to be a producer.
No,
it's not, it doesn't work that way.
I don't know that you ever really know what you want to do. You change all the time. I like to ask my team, like, what do you want to do when you grow up? Because not only do we not feel like grown-ups most of the time working in games and stuff, there's just an element of never really knowing what the next thing will be. And if you enjoy your job, that's the most important thing. You have to just love what you do, because if you don't love what you do, what's the point? You won't work hard, you won't want to progress any further. So I am a very firm believer in being able to just try and do everything that you turn your hand to the best of your ability, and take every opportunity as it arises, because some things just come out of nowhere. I took a massive risk in joining a startup when I was 26 out of quite a secure job role. And the startup lasted for about 3 years and then crashed and burned. And but the experience that I got from doing that was absolutely invaluable, because I was the only producer involved and had to organize everything from deciding helping to decide what the name of the company would be, through to organizing all of the projects, dealing with all of the freelancers, sorting out all the social media, like everything, which then gave me the experience to then work in much bigger companies and bigger roles, and the confidence that I knew that I could do it. So sometimes you just got to go for it.
I think you're so right, and you don't always know when an opportunity is presented to you what it's going to open up, and I think it's about just trying things, isn't it, and being confident, and kind of leads on nicely to my next question, because we talked offline about the skills that we work with at the Academy. So we're encouraging our young people to think about developing their soft skills, all of the things, because as you quite rightly say, you can learn the job. So someone can come to Unity and they can learn the technical skills they need for the job, but they need to be the right kind of person for that company. So you looked at those eight soft skills, and which 3 did you choose and why, that you thought were most relevant for the job that you do, Kat?
I did. I struggled with this because I believe that I use all of them.
I think, yeah.
But I would say listening is probably the first thing. So you asked earlier what I do on a daily basis, and I don't really think I answered that question, but the first thing that we do every day, is what we call a stand-up. So in real life, when we aren't surrounded by a pandemic, we're in the office, and we literally stand up together in a circle and we talk about what we did yesterday, what work we were doing yesterday, and what work we will be doing today, and if there are any problems. And the reason that we stand up is to make it snappy. So you're not supposed to be standing around just having a massive chat, because that's what meetings are for. But you go around the circle and very quickly give everybody an update. And it's my job to listen very carefully to what everybody is saying, because what everybody is doing is kind of the core of my job, really. And also to make sure that nobody is having any problems, any blockers, any issues with their work, because those need to be sorted out really quickly. Because if those carry on, then the project will be late. It can affect other people's work. It's also really important to me to listen to how everybody is. Somebody once asked me what I would do if somebody wasn't delivering their work on time. You know, if they were sort of reticent or didn't want to do it. And I think they expected me to say, you know, you should make the deadlines stronger, or make sure that, you know, like crack down. And I said, no, I would ask them what was happening at home, or whether they were happy with their project, or if they were struggling with the workload. Because if you're unhappy, you don't work to the best of your ability. So it's really important to me to be able to listen to my team and make sure that everyone is happy and make sure everyone's okay, and to try and nip anything in the bud if you spot any problems. Yeah, that's a big thing. Staying positive, obviously. It's really important to stay positive. We want to make sure that the work environment is nice, that everyone is nice to work with. Having a good team around you is just the most important thing, in my opinion. And so being able to put that positive spin on things, and it's work, it's not a lot of the time with stuff. And I used to find this as a student, you're working in a team, and if something goes wrong, it is like the end of the world. But it's really not. I mean, we're dealing with the end of the world right now. It's not, you know, like if there's a project that's slightly late, it's going to be okay. Life will go on. So you need to kind of make sure that you keep everything as light as possible. Take things seriously, but don't let it drag you down. You know, there are
things
always
in perspective.
There's always ways out of things. We can, you know, and listen to everybody, because everybody's ideas are really valuable, and somebody might have a little stroke of genius to get you out of that situation. And what did I also choose? Aiming high, the ability to set clear, tangible goals and devise a robust route to achieving them. That is essentially my job, being able to say, this is what we want to produce, how shall we get there? So I talk to all of my teammates, the people who do their jobs properly. So the developer will tell me how long it'll take to make the prototype of the game, and then how to finalize it with various iterations. The artist will do some concepting work, and then make the final art project. The instructional designer, our incredibly talented teachers, essentially, they will create the learning material, and the best way for a user to learn how to use it. And that all goes together, gets sent off to testing, and then it will be published. But all of those people need to have the steps in the right place. So you need to be able to kind of put it into a sequence that means that right from the beginning, right through to the end, everybody knows what they're doing, when to do it, to be able to deliver on time.
So you could almost have chosen teamwork as a top one as well, couldn't you? Because that's so important.
Yes, it's vital. Absolutely. Being able to work together in a way where you're listening to each other and trusting each other. At no point should you be saying, I think I can do it better, because you probably can't really. And even if you can, even if you do think you're doing it better, you need to be able to trust that that person can do it to the best of their abilities. If something goes wrong, helpful advice is always good, but being able to put your faith entirely in your team to say, you are the people who have these job roles, you be the ones to take this responsibility. It empowers them to be able to do it, and it means that everybody knows where they fit in. And then there's an element of being able to help each other out when needed. So that's really lovely. If everyone is happy in their team, it's so good to be able to say, can you help me out with this? I'm not sure what I'm doing. Which leads on to your soft skills.
Yes.
About appreciating how everything you touch in life makes a difference to what you do in your job. So the roles that I've done that have been completely varied, from like relevant jobs to what I'm doing now, through to even just working in shops, or what I worked in a painting room pottery shop for a couple of years. That was weird. And stationery shops and restaurants and bars and all sorts of things. All the skills that you learn doing those roles will ultimately become really useful, even if it's just dealing with people, or learning how to use systems, working mental arithmetic. It doesn't matter what it is, everything comes through to your career in the way of soft skills. So it's vitally important just to make sure that you take every opportunity. You do, as I said, like, give your 100% to everything you touch, because you never know when it's going to become useful again further down the line.
And I always think it's also really important to know that whoever you engage with in life, you never know when you're going to meet that person again. And business networks are networking is so crucial in business. So always treat someone as if they are, if not now, potentially a prospective client.
Oh yeah, you have no idea who people are when you first meet them. It's vital to make sure that you present yourself in a good way.
Definitely.
That also goes the same for social media as well. I feel like I should implement massively before hiring you. So keep it clean is probably the safest piece of advice, or use a different account. So when you put your social media stuff on your CV or your LinkedIn, just make sure that it's like tidy and appropriate. And
absolutely, yes, we're encouraging the sixth form students, to create a LinkedIn account. Yes. And then funnily enough, another interview I've done was with a lady who runs a creative business, and she does a lot of LinkedIn training and social media training, and we were talking about exactly what you said. If you go for a job, the chances are that potential employer is going to look you up.
Yeah,
they are going to find out, okay, so who is this Kat, what's she about, and if your media profile is full of, you're out partying and and all that sort of thing, that's fine, you're perfectly entitled to do it, but that's what they're going to see. So keep your private social media private, make sure it's private, and keep your professional social media professional.
Yeah, when I got my job, my boss had looked through everything she could find on me, I think, as much as she could in terms of like LinkedIn, and I do some voiceover on the side, so I had a voiceover website. She'd seen my CV, she'd seen enough online that she knew that she wanted to hire me before she spoke to me in real life, which was really nice, because it meant that then the interview was really relaxed, because she knew that I had it on paper. She just needed to make sure that in the face that I was
yes. And particularly now for our young people, because I was going to come on to ask you about advice for young people, because interviews are probably going to look quite different. I mean, it may well be you working for a global company, there is a lot more virtual communication. But for a young person who historically would have thought, well, I'll go for a traditional face-to-face interview and it's a chance for me to sell myself, they may actually have to do their interviews in a different way. And we're really conscious of those young people who are probably waiting to go into the world of work and thinking about how can they prepare themselves for it. Is there any insights you can give to those young people that might help?
If you are, so if you're in sixth form and you're looking to go into work, I mean, obviously work experience is a massively important thing to do, but obviously right now it's really hard. Making any kind of connection, even if it is just a Zoom call with somebody just to sort of chat about your prospects or chat about the company or what they're interested in, is always a really good idea. Keeping an eye on things like LinkedIn, making connections where you can, but also Twitter's really good for making sure that you keep up to date with companies that you are looking at. So making sure that you keep up with blog posts, things like that, just kind of keeping a little toe in what they're up to, I think is really important, because if you then want to go for a job with them when things open up, it's really nice for an employer to hear, I really like that piece of work you did on this, and this. How did the award ceremony go with this, and this? It's really, it adds that personal touch, because you get so many CVs from young people, and you can tell that they're just blanket CVs. But if you get a CV where it very specifically mentions work that you've done in the team, it's really nice to know that they've actually done their research and they really want a job with you rather than just a job.
Absolutely. And would you say, as platforms go, with the industry sector that you're in, that Twitter is probably a good one to use? I mean, is Instagram used a lot in your industry, and Facebook? And if students are going to start following, what's the best one to use?
It is. I would say you're probably better off with Twitter. There's a lot of stuff about Unity on Twitter, and there's the Unity Twitter handle anyway. But then you've got Made with Unity. There's Unity Tips. That's probably the best place, because once you start following people, you get things that people have retweeted, and there's a lot about what people are making in Unity, and it's really beautiful.
Excellent. Oh, that's good to know, because I think young people don't really necessarily think of social media as a way to keep in touch with what's going on in the business world. Mm-hmm. They're so used to using it for their, personal engagement with their social groups. But actually, there's so much going on in the business world on there, isn't there?
Yeah, I think so.
That's really useful. Excellent. Is there anything else, Kat, while we've got your attention, that you feel is a nugget or something you'd like to share with the young people who are going to watch this video, who may be interested in your sector? Anything else you can advise, or any other signposting?
Do some of our tutorials. That's what I would like to tell you to do. Unity Learn has got loads and loads of stuff, from beginners through all varying stages of Unity expertise. But if you're new to Unity, there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do. You don't have to be a coder. You don't have to know anything about code to start. We've got projects called the Creator Kits, which can get you going with Unity right from scratch without writing a line of code. And then there's further down the line, there's the Beginner Code Creator Kit. So if you think, yeah, okay, I'm ready, that's the one you want to start with. We've got huge AAA style games. If you get really into it, there's just so much content on the Unity Learn website, that if you are stuck at home over the summer and you want something to do that will give you some extra skills in the games industry, you can take it out into all the other verticals. It's a really valuable skill to be able to, work your way around the Unity editor and to say, this is what I did over my summer holidays. If this is something that you're interested in doing, that's where you need to start.
Fantastic. Well, what we'll do, we'll put some links at the end of the video, as Kat was saying, to Unity and to the different things that she's talked about, so that you can start exploring and having a look. But yeah, that's brilliant, because sometimes you're just in your room with your computer. What a great opportunity to start building up your learning.
Yeah, make some games.
Excellent. Well, Kat, thank you so very much for your time today, and I know the students will find it really useful to hear from you. And once we can open the academy again properly, it would be lovely to invite you in to see what we're doing, and maybe to meet one or two of the students who are interested in your sector.
Oh, that would be great.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kat.